The man's foot slipped, and he slid down the steep sand slope. At the bottom of the slope was a 30-meter cliff. Andy used his hands and feet to grab the ground and managed to stop halfway down the slope. The loose sand had very little grip, and every time he moved, he risked sliding further. He wanted to call for help, but as soon as he raised his hand, his body slid a little more. Andy pressed his face tightly against the sand, trying to stabilize himself as best as he could. Then, carefully, he reached up to grab his phone. The next second, Andy slipped all the way down. Fortunately, he didn't fall off the cliff. He hung on for 3 hours. The mental and physical strain became too much, and Andy could no longer hold on. Listening to the sound of the waves crashing below the cliff, he thought of a way to escape. He carefully timed the waves hitting the rocks, waiting for the right moment. He released his grip 5 seconds before the wave crashed. 5 seconds later, the wave caught him. Though he saved his life, Andy's waist slammed into the rocks. The pain knocked him unconscious for a while. When he woke up, he struggled to swim back up, eventually reaching a rock. After a short rest, Andy prepared to leave. But as soon as he took his first step, he fell right onto the rocks. He hit his head and quickly lost consciousness. When he regained consciousness, he found himself being washed awake by the waves. He checked his pants and realized his pelvis was fractured. He tried to call for help, but his phone was ruined by seawater. Andy screamed for help, but this place was too remote. No one would come. He noticed land across the strait. If he could swim there, maybe he could be rescued. He dragged himself into the water, using his uninjured arm to swim. But soon, he ran out of strength and started sinking. Just as he was about to drown, he thought of his wife. Andy refused to die like this. He fought through the pain and kept swimming. Finally, he made it back to shore. 24 hours later, Andy's wounds began to get infected. He hadn't had a drop of water and could barely move. He saw a bottle of soda, but when he picked it up, he realized it was empty. Andy crawled on, but a fishing hook pierced his arm. Things were getting worse. Soon, night fell completely. Andy hadn't had water in over 40 hours. At this rate, he would die from thirst before rescue arrived. Then, a thunderstorm broke out. Andy quickly put some aluminum foil in the sand, trying to catch some rainwater to drink. But the rain wasn't enough. Another night passed, and in his intense thirst, Andy started hallucinating. He heard a phone ringing under the sand. Crawling over, he dug through the sand and actually saw his parents had called him. But his phone had long been ruined by seawater. There was no way he could receive a call. Then, Andy woke up from the pain. Andy sat on the beach, pretending to be dead, hoping to lure nearby seagulls. When they got close, he swung a stick at them, but he got nothing. Andy hadn't eaten or drunk anything in 3 days. If he couldn't leave the beach, he would die of thirst the next day. Luckily, fate wasn't entirely cruel. A surfboard washed up on the beach. At this point, Andy started hallucinating again. He saw himself standing, holding the surfboard, and charging into the ocean with friends, celebrating. How much time passed, he didn't know, but when he came to, he was dragging the surfboard back into the sea. Using the board for flotation, Andy slowly made his way into deep water, but he didn't have enough strength. After 300 meters, he was exhausted. He lost his grip on the board and slowly sank into the water. As he descended, Andy thought of his wife again. But this time, he had no strength left to struggle. Just as he was about to drown, a small boat appeared on the surface. A man jumped down and quickly swam to Andy. He grabbed him and swam back to shore. In the end, Andy was rescued and immediately taken to the hospital.